spirit is rising, she's rising, she's rising. The spirit is rising, it's rising, it's rising. The spirit is rising, they're rising, they're rising.
Hi, Coven.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Risa.
Welcome home to the Missing Witches prescription, where we tell each other how we're going to survive another week in late stage capital.
Yes, it's where we come to talk about what we're feeling hopeful about, under the weight of all of the things out there that we're not feeling hopeful about. And this is our safe space to be joyful and pensive. And again, think about the things that are giving us hope. Think about the things that are making us feel free and alive.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, our friendship, Amy, has really been this tesseracting, unfolding thing of I get to be honest in this context about the fucking magic I see in my life. And so the prescription episodes for me are really like a weekly update on things I don't want to forget that were truly of the enchantment of the world.
Yeah, I'm not those of you who are listening, who are paid members of the Coven, you have access to our Coven space, which is our independent social media.
Yeah.
And it's honestly the only social media that I really use now, because it is that safe space to be like, hey, check me out, I'm amazing. Or
Yeah.
Hey, check out this magic that no one on Facebook or Instagram would not roll their eyes at. It's this eye roll free place. You know?
I roll free since 2003. Yeah. Or even just to be like, I need support of a kind that is immeasurable. Like, can you please send me your magic? Put me on your altar. Hold me in your care. Like that kind of thing.
For sure. And that goes with the eye rolling too. Sometimes when you are in other spaces and you want to be vulnerable and you want to ask for help, you get the same eye roll as if you would say I made magic or something like that. So again, this is this space that we have come to call home. And for those of you who are paid subscribers and have not checked out this space yet, please do so. Check your email for an invitation, or email us if you can't find it, and we'll resend it, because this is, again, part of the prescription, I think, is to be in community with people who aren't going to fucking roll their eyes at you because you're too sad or too happy or too weird or not weird enough or whatever it is. So that's part of my prescription this week. And maybe I'll dive into the song that I brought too, because it's part of that. So Risa and I are taking a little break.
Part of the prescription is to be in community, and part of the prescription is to fuck off.
To take a break. We're sort of inventing an anti-capitalist business model as we go along, and it can be quite compelling to get caught up in the drive of being productive. But Risa and I are always joking that we advocate for each other against each other. So I'll be like, I can do this and that and this and that, and Reese will be like, no, why don't you just do this and that? And
we have to do that for each other all the time. Amy the other day was like, I'll schedule the meeting for the next recording for the day I get back from my 10 days in Scotland after a 12-hour flight. We were both like, doesn't sound right when you say it out loud.
You were like, it doesn't sound right. I was like, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. Again, we've all been brainwashed by this sense of our productivity is a reflection of our value as human beings.
Right.
And it's our job to convince each other that that's not the case. So so I'm going to Scotland. This is a trip that has been in the making for years. Those of you who know me well know that my spouse and I cared for my father, who had dementia, for 10 years until he died. And with his death came sorrow, but also a great relief. And so we started making plans. My spouse was born in Glasgow. And there are many members of his extended family that I've never met before. And my father died, and sort of those shackles came off, and then immediately it became a pandemic. Like, my father died, and then like 6 months later the whole world shut down. And then my spouse was in a really bad car accident. He was concussed, and so fingers crossed we actually make it this time. Again, this trip has been a long time planning, but I wanted to bring one of my favorite Scottish albums to sort of celebrate that and send myself off gloriously like that. And this particular song, some of you may recognize because it's sort of like the theme song that we chose when we're doing reels for our May fundraiser. So the band is Primal Scream, and the song is Come Together. And it really is this like glorious, the backing vocals are gospel-y, but it's like a laid back kind of dance song. It really is for every mood. But most of the lyrics are come together. Oh, 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 come together, come together, come together, come together. And again, I love the song just as, a piece of music, but I also love it as a prayer. We need to come together. We need to fight every day against this sense of individualism that has been ingrained in us and basically like ruined society. We need each other. We need to come together. And one of the lyrics is like, I'm free, you're free. I want you to touch me. And I mean, this could be physically, but also like touching someone emotionally, giving them something that changes their day or changes their moment or disrupts their brainwashing of capitalism and individualism. So I really would love for you to, listeners, put this song on, Primal Scream, Come Together, and just think about how you can resist individualism, how you can bring community into your life, again, whether that's in our Coven space or with your family or your neighbors. One of my greatest gifts has been my relationship with neighbor Fred, who is a man in his 70s, and you would think that we have nothing in common, but we'll sit down and have a coffee together and chat for an hour. And it's made me feel more at home in my home to have this relationship with like an actual neighbor. When you live in the woods, usually your neighbors are spread quite far apart, but Fred is just a stone's throw away. And he's an old man, I don't want to say too much, but he's not well, so we will take his dog with us when we take our dog on long walks, and I'll bring him baked goods and he'll give us stuff from his garden. It really has made my life so much better to have like a neighbor bestie. And that's something that I didn't have a lot, like living in the suburbs growing up. It's sort of just this like sprawling silence. And I hated living in the suburbs. I've said this before, that I can happily live in the city or the country, but the suburbs felt so stifling to me. Anyway, I've fully lost track of what I was saying, but my point is, like, make friends with a neighbor. Try that. Like, that's part of my prescription. Let's see if you can like build a relationship with someone who you have nothing in common with except for like a little geography.
Yeah. I'm definitely, still glowing from and still finding mud in places from my recent act of IRL community. A lot of our summer will be like that. We just got back from Mariposa, which is the original of these weird Canadian folk festivals. There's really nothing like them. They're these sort of anarchist but very well organized, art family happenings with these strong hippie political roots, these roots in music for the people, but that got really like transformed by like singer-songwriter storytelling culture from the 60s. Mariposa was like, I mean, Gordon Lightfoot's stage for 20 years or longer, but this is also like Joan Baez's stage, Neil Young's stage, Buffy St. Marie. Like this was home base to so many voices of resistance and community, people who put magic into song about their anger and their sorrow and their hope. And so being immersed in that, like literally camping in the mud, crammed in with a field of, you know, old lesbians and young hippie families and, you know, corporate dad who's busted out his tie-dye for the weekend, and everyone just really so taking care of each other and loving each other. It was so fun. And, you know, I just ran around with my little kid in that world for a weekend. And doing those types of festivals with a kid means that like when the headliners are on, you're back in your tent and the campground is kind of quiet because everyone's over at the main stage. And, you know, you're in your little glowy bubble, curled up with your little sleepy kid who like hits the rocks so quick because she's exhausted. And then from across the little bay of the lake, I hear Tegan and Sarah's I Was Walking with a Ghost, which I had on repeat like 20 years ago when this song came out. And it's so, this is the prescription. I've been listening to this song, and I guess also my birthday is this weekend. So it's always this time of year where I feel like I am walking right next to versions of myself, you know, like I get closer to ghosts this time of year, the ghosts that are ancestor me and ancestors who kind of gather around at this time of year to check in, I guess it feels like. And then hearing a song that it was a real earworm for me when I was in such a different place, and then to hear it there lying with my kid and to feel the ghosts of all the people who have contributed to these acts of community, all of these musicians, and then the whole trail through Mariposa around the bay of Lake Couchiching and Lake Simcoe is benches with memory markers. So every bench for this whole like curling bike path has a different message, different story about someone who's gone. So you are sitting with these ghosts, and May was telling every single person, did you notice these are wishing benches? You sit with them and you make a wish to the person who's there. And she knows her grandmother just had a bench dedicated, so she wanted to send pictures to family members and tell them. So it really felt like we were in the presence of a lot of loving ghosts this weekend. And I think like Tegan and Sarah, if you don't know this band, imagine like a mix of like Robin and Taylor Swift if they were twin lesbians from Calgary. And then like
Nailed it.
And then like bop so hard, like, you know, they took like 2 years off to just dedicate themselves to their foundation supporting queer kids after Trump's election. They're quite badass. Fucking, I'm on board. And yeah, they're a summer bop for me for sure. And the lyrics in that song, and the White Stripes cover is great too, but the like that you're walking with a ghost and you're saying, please don't insist. You know, that, I don't know, I've always had that kind of relationship with ghosts where I have a very firm boundary. Like I don't want to see anything. I have, you know, constantly repeated safety bubbles around me. I feel like my mental health cannot withstand certain intrusions into reality. I would like all of my hauntings to come channeled out when I'm talking or to come in writing. I can't really handle seeing anything. So that please don't insist is very real for me. Like that's how I keep my mental health separate. I really think is like how I keep my magical thinking in line, how I keep my witchcraft in a container kind of, you know? It's like, don't insist, don't push this through. I need to stay in this version, but I have these ways. Like, I know there's a ghost there. I'm willing to say that much, but please don't insist. Anyway, there's so much I love about that bop of a song and really relate to in the lyrics. So that's in my prescription for this week for sure.
And we have Coven mates who are channelers. And they often talk about creating these boundaries and creating safe spaces within the other world that they can also go to. And I think that this is an important lesson for like the material and the immaterial, to create boundaries, but with gates that open, to build fences, but with swinging gates, if that makes sense. So yeah, whether it be ghosts or neighbors or friends or lovers, let's come together and make connections, but in healthy ways, right?
Yeah, that kind of ambivalence is also in my other song for the prescription this week. So I sort of stumbled upon this artist, Joanna Sternberg. They're non-binary, autistic person, multi-instrumentalist, incredible layered composer, like lifelong musician, family of professional musicians and performers. Grew up in this building I want to learn more about in Manhattan that is like a co-op dedicated only to artists, and it's been around since the 70s. You can only live there if you're a musician and an artist. They still live there with their parents.
It's amazing that has survived into the 21st century. Wow, good for them.
I know. And this song, it's so sweet and so tricky. It's called I've Got Me. I've got me in the morning. It's like delightful. And then there's the twist, where it's like all of my self-deprecation, the way it can lead towards self-hate, like constantly that balance of like, I'm here for me, and also it's always me, and like I always have to deal with me. That balance is so perfectly encapsulated in this like joyful, tense song. And I admire the ability to twist that very human experience of that thing together so beautifully. So I've been dancing around to that one all morning. And I just want to share that, when I don't know, it feels like there's like these sunny days and everything's bursting into flower, and like there can be just sort of this message from social media and the world that like, I don't know, we're drinking cocktails and we're on vacation, and like not everything is okay. Not all of us are okay. None of us are all the way okay. The world is profoundly broken, profoundly unsafe. Clicking into these like suddenly like summer narratives doesn't heal or protect us from the crumbling foundations in some of our families or social structures. But you do have you in all the complicated fucked upness of ourselves. Like you have that guardian that is you. You have that deep cellular survival impetus. You have you. You're always there, you're not alone. There's that sort of multiplicity of you-ness that you will be wrestling with your whole life, but that's comforting too, I think.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in being one's own best friend, because I'm the only one I'm stuck with forever. As much as we might loathe to think of it, family members go, friends, lovers, people come and go. And the only person that is always here for me or against me, depending on my mood and, the state of my mental health, is me.
Yeah.
I have to be right with me. I am the only person that I'm stuck with. I'm the only one that has to look in the mirror and see this face and, deal with the ramifications of my actions or whatever it is. And so I really, as much as the first part of my prescription was about, building community and coming together, of course, we are witches, we live on both sides of the coin. The other part of that is like recognizing I'm the only one that I'm stuck with forever. I'm the only one that's always going to be there for me or not.
Yeah.
But I'm the only one that's always going to be there. So I need to make that relationship right.
Yes. Yeah. How do I parent myself? How do I like big up myself?
How do I advocate for myself and give myself
Yeah.
space to rest or weep or be vulnerable or make a mistake or fail? All of these things. All of these.
And it is walking with the ghost too, right? It is that I've got me. It's that ghost is always there. And sometimes, we need to ask them not to insist with whatever version of me is there. Sometimes she's like 23 and it's like, don't fucking make that mistake again or whatever. Or sometimes she's like, please make that mistake again. We love that one.
And I think we're all sort of haunted by the ghosts of our former selves, and part of like growing, maturing is to forgive those ghosts for the mistakes that they made and be grateful for the mistakes that they made, because every success and every failure has brought you to this place. And if you're happy in this place, if you are happy in this place, then every single thing, good or bad, brought you here. And so it's all good.
Yeah.
Just forgive. These ghosts come to me in the night, like, remember when you said this thing that was embarrassing, or remember when you messed that thing up?
Yes.
I
do the audible gasp on the bus all the time.
Yeah.
For some reason, public transit brings out those ghosts in me.
Like the other night, literally, my spouse and I were getting ready for bed. We were lying in bed, and I was like, oh, and he was like, are you okay? What happened? I was like, oh, I just thought about something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you say, like I
Exactly.
vocalize.
Exactly. Oh, I just said something dumb 2 decades ago.
It's okay. It's okay. Those ghosts, we don't need to let those ghosts insist on being the only voice in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really trying to anchor my patience and my love of the present moment with all of its, downed walls. I'm looking out at, partially completed renovations and mad to-do lists and stuff. And also really remember, like I said, anchor myself with the version of the ghost that's myself from 40 years from now. Like I like to imagine them too, that they're walking with me and just being like, these will be some of the greatest memories of your life. Like don't blink, don't miss this mess. Like every day with the kid, she gets older, don't miss it, just enjoy the fort, enjoy the muck, get right in it, just be there so that all of us can have these memories as deep in our skin as we possibly can. And I mean, we as like all of these ghosts of myself, they're like reminding me right now, like, be as joyful and patient and honest and as excited as you can right now. You're writing you're releasing a book, you're making a deck, you get to spend time with your kid in a muddy campground. Like just breathe.
We can delight in the mess if we put ourselves into that good headspace. We can delight in the mess. Let's do that.
Yeah. So we're taking a break. Speaking of delighting in the mess, so there will be no RX for 2 weeks, the next 2 Mondays. There will be a really lovely episode for Lamastide, a really beautiful conversation.
I'm so
Really-
excited for you all to hear this conversation. It really, just listen to it.
Yeah. And then August, we will sort of be in break mode, but also sort of in super ramp up, excited mode for New Moon Magic, which comes out September 12th. And so we'll be releasing special episodes with little audio previews from that book. And we'll be announcing giveaways for if you have pre-ordered the book. So if you've already pre-ordered it, keep your receipt. If you're pre-ordering it as we speak, that's very cool. Keep your receipt also, but we'll have more information about that in August. And Mark and I are going to get married again, as I've mentioned before, for the 3rd and 4th time we're going to get married. So a chunk of August, we will just be hosting and playing music and celebrating love. So yeah, that's what our summer kind of looks like.
Yeah, and of course, we are also gearing up for what number are we at? Season 8, season 9?
Write in and tell us what season we're
what season are we on of the Missing Witches podcast.
I think it's 8.
Our original format returns for spooky season, and we already have our list going of the witches that we will be profiling and writing about and talking about. So again, we're super excited about that. There's a lot happening. So yeah,
that was the other
break.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking about when I was walking with the ghost so much this week, was like, the ghost is also the to-do lists, right? It's also the like version of me that keeps me up at night. That's this like, did you remember this though? But have you worried about this recently?
Yes.
And I also need to ask that ghost to not insist. Amy and I were supposed to have a meeting or something a couple of days ago, and it was gray outside. I think we're both very affected by that. And Amy was like, I need to like not talk this morning, if that's okay. And I was like, I need to just lie in bed and look at my to-do lists, like reorganize them and update them.
That's the story.
That's the whole
prescription
story.
is come together with your ghosts.
Yeah, and take a fucking break.
Take a fucking break, and blessed fucking be.
And blessed fucking be.
World's drifting through me, and my life is all to me. I love myself and all me. I love myself and all of me, all of me. I love myself and all of me. Love myself and all of me. I love myself and all of me.
If you want to support the Missing Witches project, find out how at missingwitches.com.